If I ask you where are the most beautiful beaches on earth, I think you will say something like Bahamas or the Bondi, maybe Florida or French Polynesia. Different people will have different choices for sure, but I think what will be common, no one is gonna say Norway. That's not a beach destination which comes to mind, is it? But we are in the very north of Norway, in this archipelago called the Lofoten Islands. And we are north of the Arctic Circle, so it is pretty cold and chilly. But we found one of the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen in my life, Ramberg Beach. This is right off the E10, the main artery of the Lofoten Islands, so super easy to get to. There's a small parking lot, we parked our car and we walked down this small walkway and we were right on the beach in no time. It's white sandy beaches with like turquoise blue water with those snow-peaked mountains rising straight up from those waters add to the dramatic scenery over here. This water is of the Norwegian Sea, which is actually right behind those mountains, and this particular thing is actually a small bay or an inlet. And we had the whole beach to ourselves. We spent like an hour just walking around, touching the water a little bit, playing in the sand. Not a single soul out here. And those red houses which you see, those are called roadbuers, and they add to the dramatic nature and to the beauty of this island. Next up, after the Ramberg beach, we went to visit this other beach. It's a little far from the E10 highway, so we had to take a quick 15 minutes detour, nothing too bad, maybe like a 10 kilometer or 7 miles detour, to this beach called the Vik Beach. But the theme of having that white sandy beach next to turquoise blue waters and having almost the whole beach to ourselves, the theme stays the same in Ramberg and here. Well, there was like one caravan and a couple of people here, a little bit more than Ramberg. They seem to be a little bit more popular with locals. While coming back, we definitely saw some locals doing some grilling and some kids playing on the beach and things like that. But overall, a huge beach, almost no soul inside. There's a small camping ground right next to this particular beach. So I'm sure during the stargazing sites, during the Northern Lights time in December and January, this area becomes very, very popular. This particular section of the Lofoten Islands has a bunch of beaches. So this one is the first beach we are stopping at. This is called the Vik Beach. And then from there, we are going to head over to two other beaches, which are right next to, right opposite those mountains which you see in front of you. After spending some quality time at the Vik Beach, we are headed to our next destination, which is called Uttakliev Beach. This is around a 10 minutes drive from the Vik Beach, but it is on the other side of those mountains, and those are the same mountains you see on the left. So there's a tunnel which goes right below those mountains. And there's a small community over here, so some beautiful houses. I was really jealous and envious of the people who get to live there. But this beach is quite different. This is not a white sandy beach like what we have seen previously. This is a very, very rocky beach. There's some big rocks over here. And there are some pretty interesting rock formations here with names like Dragon's Eye and Dragon's Head and things like that. We could not really get to those because it was a little bit difficult to get to. You have to hike through those rocks. We had young kids, so we pretty much stuck to the shore closer to those sandy beaches. But we spent like an hour or so playing in those rocks. There's a lot of small puddles, and even we saw some fishes in those puddles. So it was a pretty fun hanging out place to do. This particular beach is actually really popular for seeing northern lights. So if you're here to see the northern lights in the Lofoten Islands, this may be the place for you. There are a lot of campgrounds, there's a lot of parking spot over here, so you park your car and you put up your tent and you wait for the northern lights. Now, one of the big bonus for this particular beach is there is a hike which goes from here, which goes close to the Vik Beach to a place called the Haukland Beach. Now, we came in through a tunnel through that mountain I showed earlier, but many years back there was no tunnels, right? Like the tunnel is maybe 50 years old, I think, something like that. So previously there was this horse trail where you have to walk around that mountain to get to this community from the mainland. Today, that has been converted to a beautiful trail which is laid out right next to the sea, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Now, there are other beaches in the Lofoten Islands as well, but most of the other beaches are much more difficult to reach to. You have to hike for many hours in many cases, and some of those hikes are pretty difficult. These three beaches which I showed, these are the most easily accessible beaches in the Lofoten Islands. So irrespective of whether you visit the other beaches or not, if you are in Lofoten Islands, these three should be on your must visit list.